All right, ready for another deep dive? This time, we're tackling a topic that's especially relevant as we head into the holiday season. Gift card scams.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely the time of year when these scams tend to spike.
Exactly. 'Tis the season for giving.
Hmm.
And unfortunately for scammers looking to take advantage of that generosity.
It's really unfortunate.
We've been digging through some recent news articles and even some security advice straight from Homeland Security to get the inside scoop on how these scams work and, more importantly, how to avoid becoming a victim.
So, by the end of this deep dive, you'll be well equipped to protect yourself and your loved ones.
Exactly. We want to make sure your holiday spirit and your hard-earned money stay safe.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Just how big of a problem are we talking about here?
Oh, well, the numbers are pretty alarming, actually.
Oh,
The Federal Trade Commission reported that in 2023 alone, consumers lost a whopping $217 million to gift card scams.
whoa, 217 million.
Yeah, and that's actually a 15% increase from the previous year.
So this is definitely not a small-scale issue. It's a significant problem that's only getting worse.
Sadly, yes.
Okay, so clearly we need to pay attention to this. Now, let's break down how these scams actually work, specifically what they call gift card draining.
Right, so basically it involves criminals getting their hands on the gift card information, often even before the card is purchased and activated by a consumer.
So they're getting the information somehow before the card even ends up in someone's hands.
Exactly. They're finding ways to snag that information early on. Then they wait for someone to buy and activate the card, and then bam.
They swoop in and drain the funds.
Precisely. It leaves the recipient with a worthless piece of plastic.
It's like a virtual robbery happening right under our noses.
A very sneaky one at that.
Now, I'm picturing those racks of gift cards you see at the checkout counter in stores. Are these physical cards susceptible to tampering?
Absolutely. In fact, tampering with physical gift cards is one of the most common tactics scammers use.
So when we're standing there, ready to grab a gift card for a friend or family member, what are the red flags we should be looking out for? How can we tell if a card has been tampered with?
The first thing you want to do is carefully examine the packaging, particularly around the PIN code cover.
The PIN code cover, got it.
Look for any signs of tampering, like tears, scratches, or any indication that the PIN code cover has been peeled back or replaced.
So if the PIN code cover seems loose, damaged, or just doesn't look quite right, that's a big warning sign.
Absolutely, that's a major red flag.
Okay, what else should we be on the lookout for?
Well, another thing to watch for is mismatched logos or colors on the card itself.
Oh, interesting.
Make sure the branding is consistent and that the printing looks crisp and clear, not faded or blurry.
So these counterfeiters aren't always the most meticulous, huh?
You'd be surprised. Sometimes the discrepancies can be pretty subtle.
So it's really about being a savvy shopper, paying close attention to those details. It's like detective work.
That's a great way to put it. And it's always a good idea to compare the packaging to other cards on the rack.
Oh, right. Like, are there any noticeable differences?
Exactly. Is the material of the PIN code cover different? Is the card packaged differently?
Got it. So if something seems off or inconsistent, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely. Better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to your hard-earned money and the spirit of giving.
Right. We want to make sure those gifts actually end up in the hands of the people we care about.
Exactly.
So we've talked about how to spot a tampered gift card, but what happens if, despite our best efforts, we end up with a card that's already been compromised?
That's a good question, and unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
Oh no, that doesn't sound promising.
The first thing you should do is contact the issuer of the gift card immediately.
Okay, so the retailer or company whose logo is on the card.
Right, like if it's a Starbucks card, you'd contact Starbucks.
Makes sense. So what happens next? Do they have some secret way of tracing those stolen funds?
Well, they'll have procedures in place to investigate potential fraud, but it's not always a guarantee that you'll get your money back.
Oh, I see. So what can we do to increase our chances of recovering those funds?
The most important thing is to be prepared to provide as much information as possible about the card and how you discovered it was compromised.
Okay, so things like the card number, when and where it was purchased, how much was on it, and when you realized the funds were missing.
Exactly. All those details are crucial.
Oh, and receipts.
Yes, receipts are key. They can be really helpful as evidence to support your claim.
Got it. Contact the issuer, gather all the details, and those precious receipts.
Exactly.
But even if the issuer can't recover the funds, there are still steps we can take, right?
Absolutely. It's important to report the scam even if you don't think you'll get your money back.
Okay, where do we report it to?
The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has a website and a hotline specifically for reporting gift card scams.
So the FTC is our go-to for reporting these incidents. But why is it so important to report it, even if we're not optimistic about getting our money back?
Well, for one, it helps the FTC track these scams, identify trends, and potentially take action against the scammers.
Oh, so it's about contributing to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't directly benefit us in the short term.
Exactly. The more people report these scams, the harder it becomes for the scammers to operate.
It's like shining a light on their shady practices.
That's a good way to put it.
Hmm.
And speaking of resources, another organization that can be helpful is the Better Business Bureau, the BBB.
Ah, the good old BBB. They're like the watchdog for consumers.
Exactly. They have a ton of information on our website about gift card scams.
Like how to spot them and how to protect yourself.
Exactly. One of the most useful tools they have is their scam tracker.
What's that?
It lets you search for reports of scams in your area, including gift card scams.
Oh, wow. So I can actually see if there's been a spike in gift card scams in my neighborhood.
Exactly. It's a great way to stay informed and aware of what's happening in your community.
So knowledge is power, as they say.
Absolutely. The more you know about the scams that are out there, the better equipped you are to avoid becoming a victim.
Okay, so we've got the issuer of the card, the FTC, and the BBB. Any other organizations we should have on our radar if we find ourselves caught up in a gift card scam?
Well, you can also consider filing a police report with your local police department.
Oh, really?
Yeah, while they might not be able to recover the funds, they can document the incident, which can be helpful for insurance purposes or other legal matters.
That makes sense. And they might be able to connect you with victim advocacy services if needed?
Exactly. It's important to remember that being scammed can be a really upsetting experience, both financially and emotionally.
Absolutely. It can feel like a violation of trust.
It is. And there are resources available to help you cope with those feelings and get back on your feet.
That's good to know. So we've covered what to do after a scam, but let's shift gears and talk about prevention. We've touched on some strategies for buying physical gift cards, but what about those digital gift cards? Are there any specific security measures we should be taking when buying or receiving gift cards online?
Well, the same principles of vigilance and skepticism apply online.
Okay, so we still need to be cautious.
Absolutely. Always be wary of suspicious emails or links, especially those claiming you've won a free gift card or offering deals that seem too good to be true.
Oh, those congratulations, you're a winner emails. I get those all the time.
Yeah, those are almost always a trap. If you receive an unsolicited email about a gift card, especially if it's from a company you don't normally interact with, it's best to just delete it.
Don't even open it.
Don't click on any links or provide any personal information.
So delete is our friend when it comes to those tempting offers.
Exactly. And when you're buying gift cards online, it's always safest to buy directly from the retailer's website.
Oh, so cut out the middleman.
Exactly. That way, you can be more confident that you're dealing with a legitimate source and not a third-party seller who might be peddling stolen or fraudulent gift cards.
Okay, so go straight to the source. Makes sense. But what about those third-party platforms that offer discounts or deals?
Well, if you do decide to buy from a third-party site, be sure to do your research.
Like check reviews and stuff.
Exactly. Look for secure payment options, make sure the site has a clear return policy, and trust your gut.
Okay, so it's all about being an informed consumer, doing our homework before we hand over our credit card information.
Exactly. A little bit of research can go a long way in protecting yourself from fraud.
Good advice. Now, what about those situations where someone calls or messages us claiming to be from a government agency or even a loved one in distress and demands payment in gift cards?
That's a classic example of what we call victim-assisted fraud.
Victim assisted.
Yeah, it's a really sneaky type of scam because it preys on our emotions and our desire to help.
Right. It makes you feel like you need to act quickly to help someone in need.
Exactly. The scammers might impersonate an authority figure, like the IRS, claiming you owe back taxes and must pay immediately with gift cards to avoid arrest.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
Or they might pretend to be a grandchild or other relative in trouble, desperately needing money to get out of a jam.
So even if it seems like a dire situation, we should never give in to those demands.
Never. No legitimate organization or individual will ever demand payment in gift cards.
Okay, that's good to know. But what if they sound really convincing?
It doesn't matter. If you receive a request like this, hang up the phone or end the chat and contact the person or organization directly through a trusted channel to verify the situation.
So if someone claiming to be my grandma calls and asks for a gift card to help with a medical emergency, I should hang up and call my grandma's actual phone number to confirm.
Exactly. Don't rely on the contact information provided by the person making the request.
Verify, verify, verify.
Exactly. Trust your gut, be skeptical, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
All right, so we've talked about how to buy gift cards safely, but what about when we're the ones giving them? Are there any tips for making sure our gifts don't end up in the wrong hands?
Yeah, definitely. First off, if you're buying a physical gift card, try to choose a reputable store.
Okay, so no shady gas stations or anything like that.
Right. And remember those tips we talked about earlier about checking for tampering.
So double check those PIN code covers and all that.
Exactly. And if you can, try to select a card from a secure display or ask for one from behind the counter.
So basically, make it as difficult as possible for those scammers to get their hands on the cards.
Exactly. And when it comes to sending gift cards digitally, make sure you're using a secure platform or app and double check those email addresses and phone numbers before you hit send.
Right, because we don't want to accidentally send grandma's gift card to a spam account.
Exactly. It's also a good idea to let the recipient know that you've sent them a gift card.
Oh, good point. So they're not surprised if they get an email or text about it.
Right, it just helps to reduce the risk of them falling for a phishing attempt.
Now, what about when we receive a gift card, but we're not planning to use it right away? Should we be worried about the balance disappearing before we even get a chance to spend it?
That's a good question. Honestly, the longer a gift card sits unused, the greater the risk. So it's definitely best to check the balance as soon as possible and try to use it promptly.
So no letting those gift cards collect dust in our wallets.
Nope. But of course, sometimes you might be saving a card for a special occasion.
Maybe you got a gift card to that fancy restaurant you've been wanting to try.
Right. In those cases, some retailers let you register your gift card.
Oh, is that like an extra layer of security?
Yeah, it can help. It makes it harder for unauthorized users to access the funds.
And I guess it gives you a way to track the balance and transaction history.
Exactly. Just in case you ever need to dispute a charge or anything like that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From spotting tampered cards to navigating the online world and protecting ourselves from those tricky victim-assisted scams, I feel like I've learned a ton.
That's great to hear. Really, the most important thing is to be aware and to trust your instincts.
If something seems off, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Well, I think we've equipped our listeners with a pretty comprehensive toolkit to stay safe in the world of gift cards this holiday season.
Yeah, I hope so. Remember, the holidays should be a time of joy and generosity.
Not stress and worry about scams.
Right. So stay informed, take those precautions, and enjoy the season.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of gift card scams. We hope you found it helpful, and we wish you all happy and safe holidays.